Welcome in, Dark Hearts. I'm Mooney.
And Wolfie with your Nerd Network news. Today we're talking nerdy with the legendary Neil Kaplan.
As I say usually when I'm doing a cameo video, my name is Neil Kaplan. If you don't recognize my face, don't worry about it. I am a voiceover actor. That's the microphone. I'm used to it. I'm one of those folks who hasn't done a whole lot of anything, but has done a little bit of a whole lot. I was the narrator for the YA book series I Am Number 4. I've done video games like Star Wars Battlegrounds, Knights of the Old Republic, StarCraft 2 is Takis Shane Finley. Destiny 2 is Dominus Gaul. And a lot of the kids these days also know me as Aurelian Soul from League of Legends, the space dragon. I've probably played dragons like about a dozen times in various things. Folks who watch anime might know me from my early days. I know it's not anime. Ooh, sorry about that. I had to put you in your place. Anyway, it wasn't anime, but I did start off my professional career. The biggest thing people would know about was a little show called Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. I worked on a show called Digimon, which, yes, is coming back. I mean, depending on when you're watching this. Of course, if you're watching this in 2035, I don't know if it's coming back. But we're recording it in 2023, and at this point in the temporal phase, Digimon is kind of coming back. And I am returning as the voice of Hawkmon and everything he digivolves into.
Yes!
Excited for that.
I was the voice of Optimus Prime back in 2001, 2002. Technically, I was the second voice of the vehicle version of Optimus Prime. Did a little show called Bleach, which is on Hulu, the 1,000-Year Blood War right now. I provided the voice of Genryu Yamamoto. And I worked on a little show called Naruto Shippuden, where I provide the voice of Madara Uchiha. So I guess I've got a couple of phrases that are known out there. Transform and roll out, or hail, it's a bad time, or even wake up to reality. Nothing ever goes as planned in this accursed world. If you don't know any of those are not things you're fans of. But if you are fans, you know that stuff. And, of course, in the world of animation, I have been on Robot Chicken, Love, Death, and Robots. And I worked on a show called Voltron, Legendary Defender, where I provided the voice of Emperor Zarkon. Not King Zarkon. I got an upgrade. I was the Emperor.
Heck yes.
That is so awesome.
That's some of the stuff I've done over the last 25 years or so. You know, I keep hearing about the big three in anime, and I guess it depends on which fan you ask. So I'm going to ask you, which are the big three in anime?
Oh, gotcha. For our era, that would definitely be the Bleach, Naruto, and I think One Piece was that era.
Yeah.
So basically 3 shows that I've been on. So good.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we're very excited to have you on the show today.
Thank
Very.
you. You know, I got to tell you, I don't do a lot of interviews these days, honestly.
Really?
I've ignored a lot of the requests or said, not right now. But considering that y'all are tied in with Twin Cities Con, I said, this one I will do.
Heck yes. That's so awesome. You know, they're a really good con.
They are.
Like, gosh, it's going to be one of those bigger ones, just going to be nuts, but I suppose maybe not very big compared to some of the cons you've done.
You know, I honestly, as a guest, I don't necessarily like doing the really big conventions. I like going to them as an attendee. I mean, I love doing San Diego Comic-Con, and, you know, I've been on a couple of panels at San Diego Comic-Con, but I don't know. I don't like it as much as a guest, as much as I do being an attendee when it's really big. So this kind of feels like that wonderful medium flavor where it'll feel small enough and yet still have some people that'll have me even going, you know. So, you got walk around a corner and see Danny Trejo like in the green room, and it's like, wait, am I allowed to be in here with you?
Oh
Do
my
you know who you
gosh.
are? That sort of thing.
Oh my gosh, that is so awesome.
It is.
So, doing cons, you've mentioned you like doing the smaller cons. What's some of your favorite things interacting with the fans like that? Either how they interact with you, stuff like that.
Well, I gotta tell you, I did my first convention while Robots in Disguise was still airing, so it was probably like, I don't know, I want to say October 2021. So I've been doing conventions for 22 years.
Oh,
Jeez.
Yeah, exactly. Kind of makes me go, whoa. And for the most part, my experiences were a little small, a little more niche, but it seems that while people were stuck inside their homes, there was some sort of mandate about people having to watch Naruto Shippuden. Because the reaction that I get now, a little different than I used to get. And there's something about delayed gratification that really makes you appreciate it more. It's not something I've really been good with my entire life. So this time having it forced on me, along with, I'll be honest with you, pretty much all the cast of Naruto, we're very, very, very appreciative because we haven't really recorded the show in about, 5 years or so, except for those folks who are on Boruto. So, having people come up and tell me how much they love it, or I had a friend on Facebook who posted, you're successful in the world of anime if people go on YouTube and discuss or argue, are you as good or better than the original Japanese? And so I went and looked, and so I had to write back, I guess I'm successful.
yes.
Thanks to being the English version of Naruto Uchiha in Naruto, I get a lot of kind words that are written, and I really appreciate it. I do not take it for granted at all. There were certainly some things that I tried to do, and the thing about recording is you don't necessarily know is it working or not. It's not like going out on stage and doing stand-up and hearing if the joke lands or not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or doing musical theater and, I tried the musical phrasing a little different tonight, and they did not applaud. Good to know. This is like, all right, I'm taking the contractions out of what Madara is saying because I'm trying to give him a certain sound. And then not knowing for 5-10 years whether that was working or not. So I really appreciate the enthusiasm. Of course, doing conventions with my castmates, I don't know if you're familiar with how recording anime or recording video games works.
Just a tad.
Basically, the big thing is we all record separately.
Okay.
So people will ask, who is your favorite person to work with on, excuse me, I'm going to say it the way I'm comfortable saying it, Naruto. Go ahead and get angry, people. Get angry. That's fine. I said Naruto, and I'll continue to say Naruto. So there. Can I say Naruto? Yes, I can. Do I say it that way? Not always. And I love when people come on my TikTok and say, it's not Naruto. And it's like, yeah, where's the paycheck?
That's fair. Gosh, in Minnesota here, people do tend to pronounce it that way, I've noticed, so you'll fit right in.
Oh, yeah.
Not a problem. It's like, look, once upon a time I went to a school for performing arts, and I learned how to pronounce things properly. And I am one of these few people who you can tell the difference between, are you okay? Would you like to come to our house? As opposed to most people who would say, are you okay? Want to come to our house? Same word, same pronunciation. So it's like, advertising changed and acting styles changed, and we reflect the realness of how things are pronounced. I mean, look, the hardest thing for me in anime is when they throw a name at me that I'm just having such a bear of a time saying that I usually say something like, can we just call him Dave? I mean, it's an American audience. Come on. Just call him Bob.
Makes me think of in the Bleach anime how Ichigo had such a hard time saying Yasutaro Sato, so he just calls him Chad.
Well, that was written into the show, though, so.
Yeah.
Now, I did get a lot of warning when we were getting ready to record some of Thousand Year Blood War, and people were writing to me on Instagram and Twitter and TikTok, just basically going, get ready for the word. That word is coming. You better get ready. Are you sure you can handle the word? This is me doing typing things because, because it's not quite the same as, because when I grew up, this was like video games. This wasn't texting. This was video games.
Yeah.
Or, thumb wars, thumb wrestling.
True.
Anyhow, enough about that. So, and I didn't know what they were talking about because I don't read the manga. And I went ahead and got there, and you can look on Instagram because there is a picture of me going, when I saw the word, and the word was Sojin, because you don't learn how to say a word like that and have it ever leave you on a cellular level. It stays with you. So yeah, I did manage to say it, and yeah, so.
And that was awesome too.
Thank you. It was very, very interesting how people were telling me I was pronouncing the name Yuhabaha incorrectly because it's spelled in the manga like Yiwach, and they would write it's Yowich, and it's like, and I would just write back, thank you, but that's not what the reference tape from Japan is telling me to say. So if you don't mind, I'm not gonna go with what you're telling me, person who has read the manga. I'm going to go with what the production team is providing me from Japan.
There you go.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about your journey from, even early stand-up days, how you got to where you are today.
Well, I'm a child of the 70s and 80s. I used to watch a show called Copycats, which was filled with impressionists. It was sort of Saturday Night Live before Saturday Night Live even existed. They never did the makeup. It was all impressionists. So.
Oh, okay.
And they did a sketch called Celebrity Sneezes. And so I did one of my own. I did my 5-year-old version of Donald Duck. And my older brothers, being older brothers, gave me the 70s version of, well, that sucks. And so little did I know, but I stumbled onto how Ducky Nash, the original version of Donald Duck, actually did Donald Duck. So eventually my celebrity sneeze of Donald Duck was,
oh boy. That was yummy.
which is a decent Donald Duck, but nowhere near as good as my friend Daniel Ross, one of the actual voices of Donald Duck. And in fact, the only voice of Donald Duck to ever win an Emmy. Way to go, Daniel. Yeah. So, I mean, he's so good that the first time I heard him do it, I wasn't even jealous of not playing the part, because it's like, no, that's how Donald's supposed to sound. I sound like Donald's testosterone-filled cousin, my tone's a little lower. You don't realize it till you hear Donald, but
Yeah, I'm a disgusting child.
So there you go. Anyhow, so that led to me doing impressions as like an 8-year-old, as a 10-year-old, doing talent shows. And, when you're 10 and you're doing Jimmy Stewart and Jimmy Carter, and people kind of look at you funny, and it's like, that's adorable. And then they give the prizes to the kid that lip syncs, because, what can you do in life doing impressions as opposed to lip syncing, which is such a valuable talent.
I suppose for a couple of people it has been.
I feel that. I've been in that situation as well, so
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like someone comes to you with original art, and then somebody comes to you with tracing, and the tracing wins.
Yep.
Yeah.
Been
It's like
there.
on a personal level, and I may get into trouble with this one, but I'm such a fan of cosplayers who build their own stuff or design it and have somebody else build it. I'm such a fan of that I don't necessarily like the people with the hot bodies, men and women and non-binary people with great bodies, and they just go to the store, they buy something, and they just put it on,
Yeah.
and then they charge people to take pictures. And it's like, you know what? Just go and pose for a figure drawing class, all right?
Pretty much.
The cosplayers who built their stuff, let them, get the attention, please.
Yeah, we'll say what we're wearing is handmade. This is original cosplay.
It is.
Thank
We're on
you.
team original.
Thank you. And and I'm also a fan of people who like put stuff together from home, because again, to me, they're showing off their eye, they're showing off their talent, they're showing off their ability to take disparate things and put it together and suddenly make a good-looking cardboard Optimus or out-of-work Batman, which was one of my favorites. A guy at San Diego Comic-Con just looking like a totally run-down Batman and holding a sign, "We'll fight crime for food."
Yes.
I liked it. I mean, I like Pimp Vader and and the top chef stormtrooper who goes around with a cloche and they pick it up and there's Jar Jar's head.
Oh no.
No disrespect to Jar Jar. I love Jar Jar and especially Ahmed Best, who I actually have no idea what show it was, but he and I did background voices on an anime once upon a time.
Ooh.
Heck yeah.
We'll have to find out which one.
Mhm.
No idea. I did all this stuff and never even wrote it down.
That's fair.
So like I was on stuff like Wolf's Rain and
That
things
one?
around that era, and just no idea what I did. As a matter of fact, I cheated to figure out when I started with Power Rangers with Mighty Morphin, because I was watching HBO one day and Mighty Morphin the movie was on, and I literally can remember sitting there watching and thinking, oh, that would have been fun to work on. And then I heard my own voice in the background go, and I went, oh, right, that was fun to work on. But that's how I figured out. I started with Mighty Morphin in year 2, because the movie came out between year 2 and year 3, and I knew I wasn't on year 1.
Oh, gotcha.
Okay.
So there you go. And so, yeah, I basically, long story longer, got you there. But I basically started doing musical theater, and everything I did, like the character had a voice, a dialect. I remember I was at Northwestern University doing a summer program back in the 80s, and we did Midsummer Night's Dream, and I played Bottom, but, I played him with a Brooklyn dialect, that's sort of a thing there, So I was the guy doing Shakespeare with his kind of voice,
Fits
and
though.
so,
That really does. Wow.
and not exactly what Uncle Bill had in mind, but so I was studying musical theater in New York City, and my uncle introduced me to a friend of his who was a DJ on CBS FM, who found out I was an impressionist. So he invited me to his studio one day to lay down a bunch of promotional tracks for his show, which I did for free. But I had such a good time that I went, wait, this microphone thing, this thing here, ooh, yeah, and everybody's getting a glimpse in the background of, yes, this is a closet which I transformed into a recording booth. Anyhow, so no script to memorize, from the world of stand-up. There were no hecklers. There were additional takes as opposed to going up on your lines and being stuck out on stage. So I found a home, and that was 37 years ago.
That's awesome.
Wow.
I've been doing voiceover ever since, sometimes a bit busier than others and sometimes a bit not so busy. So
That's fair. How do you choose the characters that you audition for? What traits are you looking for?
Me? I
Yeah.
audition for anybody,
Fair.
you know, honestly. Well, because I thought it was my job as a character actor to be able to do anything. And so basically, aside from dance, I do everything. I sing, I do dialects, I do original characters, I do some impersonations, some impressions. The bad ones become other characters, and the good ones hopefully get booked every now and then. But I just always thought I was supposed to be able to do everything, be the guy in the background, you know. If you ever saw the stage presentation of 39 Steps, I didn't see myself as the lead. I saw myself as the second banana playing 13 other characters in the show.
What was it like coming back to Bleach so many years later and going back to your old role?
You know, I've been doing a lot of that lately. I can't tell you which stuff that's happened on, but there has been additional DLC for Destiny 2 where I've come back and I've been able to do sort of a new version of Dominus Gall. Tychus Finley was ported over from StarCraft 2 to Heroes of the Storm and had extra skins. We got to do new skins on Tychus for Heroes of the Storm. There have been new skins for Aurelian Soul and League of Legends. You know, even Zarkon came back in a different form before Legendary Defender was done. So I'm kind of used to it, and it's a lot of fun, you know. And Yamamoto just exists in this one spot in my throat that's just really easy to get to. So it really was not a problem to pick him back up and just go ahead and move forward, you know. So it was nice.
Awesome.
That fight was probably my favorite one in the whole series so far that's been shown.
I have to say, I mean, I think the art, the visual nature of Thousand Year Blood War is just mind-blowingly impressive. And I've worked on some good-looking anime. I mean, if you haven't seen Promare from Studio Trigger, I highly recommend it. I think that's on HBO these days, still available. But it's unabashedly Studio Trigger, just bright and colorful and such really strong images. I worked on a movie that's on Netflix called Klaus, which is one of my favorite holiday films of all time, and not just because I have a couple of lines in it. It's hand-drawn animation, and it's absolutely gorgeous. And if you look at the space battles in Voltron, Legendary Defender, wow. You know, the stuff that the animation house did there under the leadership of Eugene Lee and Joaquin de los Santos, just gorgeous stuff. Absolutely amazing looking stuff. And yeah, I would put Thousand Year Blood War right up there with all of them. And yeah, that battle was pretty darn impressive. And you know, spoiler alert, kids. So if you haven't seen it, skip forward. But as I've said to a fair number of fans over the last year or so, you ever seen a movie called Star Wars?
Yes.
Of course.
Well, an old man gets cut in half in that movie too. And was he in the next one?
No,
Was he in the one after that?
he was not.
What? Yes, he was. Ben Kenobi
Oh, yeah.
was absolutely in Empire Strikes Back, and he was in Return of the Jedi. Come on.
I was thinking of Maul. I'm sorry.
Yeah, he wasn't in a movie called Star Wars, and he wasn't an old man. And he came back too.
Like 6 times at this
Yeah.
point. Sorry, hon, you lost a few nerd points.
Apparently I did.
Yep. Well, that's the problem with you youngsters, is you don't understand that there was actually a movie called Star Wars. It's not just a whole universe.
Speaking of Star Wars, I did really enjoy the narration that you did in Star Wars Visions.
Yep, I was pretty geeked up about that. It was probably the 3rd or 4th episode that we worked on. So I was in the duel, got to shoot, got to shoot blasters and get hit by blaster bolts and have a lot of fun with a few of the characters in the background there. And, I was on TOB1, which was the one with the droid who became force sensitive,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and he had a little lightsaber fight there with me. So I was the Sith Inquisitor in that one and had a blast. Even though I didn't actually get to pick up a lightsaber fight, I still had a lightsaber fight in an official Lucasfilm project, so that was fun. But when we got to the 9th Jedi and they said they wanted me to do the narration, I kind of went, wait, what's up, Neil? I'm the Crawl. The what? I'm the Crawl. The beginning of the episode, beginning of the movies,
Mhm.
the yellow words going up the
Oh,
screen.
the
Yes,
that's
script
me.
crawl. Oh,
And
So,
just-
so I read it embodying, to me, the yellow crawl. So, as opposed to the wonderful work that Tom Kane did on Clone Wars as the narrator there, I did something new. So anyhow, yeah, but I really enjoyed doing that. And of course, Studio Trigger had an episode in Visions as well, which is just great looking. I love shows like that. I really love that they can give us the opportunity to see so many different animation studios and what they do. Whether it's Visions or Love, Death, and Robots, I love stuff like that. I'm very lucky to have been in both of them.
they're really good shows. We love your performances. We're trying not to geek out too much. But
Yeah, we're really
Please go
trying
ahead.
not to.
Go ahead, please.
our big question is always,
Yes.
what is your nerdy passions and or hobbies?
Well, I am a pretty huge baseball fan. I've been to see the World Baseball Classic a number of times, international competition. I am a Giants fan living in Los Angeles, so just between us, I think that's cost me a few jobs, but
Dang.
oh well. Well, people get bitter when their team sucks so much, And it's even worse when you have a fan of the opposing team that knows more about your team than you do. And so I think I've made some people feel uncomfortable about the fact that they wear the hat, but they don't hold them in their heart.
Ah.
Yeah. Anyhow, so there's that. I like to travel. Like to see Bruce Springsteen. Seen him a few different places around the country. On Broadway, my wife and I went to Scotland to see him this past summer. That was the whole basis of a very large family trip that we took. My dog, other people's dogs. I like dogs. I love the art of voice acting. I don't just like to do it, but I love the art of it and the human voice and what it can do. Whether it's somebody like Bobby McFerrin, or listening to storytellers or vocalists who perform vocalese. like Bobby McFerrin or Manhattan Transfer. I like old radio shows. So yeah, the human voice kind of fascinates me and what it can do.
Heck yes.
Yeah, so that's a couple off the top of my head.
So a lot of people, ourselves included, we get so nervous going up to the celebrities' booth, the guest booths, and just don't know what to say, how to interact. What would be your advice to the fans who want to say hi and are just scared?
My biggest advice is don't dance around it. Just say what's on your mind. Same thing with Q&As and panels. One thing that a lot of people on panels don't really like is when somebody gives a lot of background or pitches themselves instead of asking a question. At a table, it's different. At a table, and as far as I'm concerned, you've waited in line. So if you want to have a 90-second personal conversation, that's the time to do it, as opposed to at a panel when there are hopefully a couple hundred or a couple thousand people that are there, and they may not be interested in your personal story, so unless it's a personal story that directly addresses the person involved. Like, for instance, if I was at a Q&A panel for the creative team behind Back to the Future, the musical, and I said, on Easter Sunday, 1992, I was at the Giants-Reds game, and Paul O'Neill swung at a ball and clipped it off into the stands on the third base side, and somebody stood up and tried to catch it, but they didn't. It glanced off their fingers, and I caught it. And I just wanted to say, Huey Lewis, thank you very much for not catching that baseball. And thank you for signing it 3 innings later. See, that's a little different because that's a story people can relate to. You get right to it. It has sort of a punchline. They enjoy it, and that's it. And you move on. It's the people who go, 7 generations ago when my family first got to this continent, and then it ends with, so what's your favorite color? That's not great. Now, I completely understand, different people have different ways of handling fans. I'm just so grateful to have anybody who wants to say hello that I always, especially when I'm at the table and somebody's waited in line, I'll always give them a couple of minutes and listen to what they have to say, try to answer their question. I'm not a big fan of people who come to a convention and say, how do I become a voice actor? Because I usually kind of respond with, you do more investigation than go to a convention and ask somebody who's already doing it, how do I take your job? So people who come to me and have done a little bit of homework, who have done a little bit of investigation or maybe taken some classes or done a couple of jobs, that's a different story. That's a different story. And then if I've got a couple of minutes to give them some advice or anything like that, I'm more than happy to. One thing I will never do is I will never say to somebody, you can't do voiceover. Don't do it. Because I have no idea what every project needs. And for all I know, this person who has an odd dialect or an odd pacing to how they say things, or doesn't seem to be able to act, or monotone, or doesn't have a lot of fluctuation in the, whatever it is that I might personally think is negative, may be the exact thing that makes them perfect for a role. How many people would have told Steve Buscemi, you can't be a movie star? Look at you. Look at that tooth. Wrong.
Right.
Dude was right place, right time, and ran with it and did great work. There are shows we may watch that we may sit there and think, this is bad acting. Somebody else may watch it and think, this acting is perfect for this style of storytelling and I love it.
Yeah.
So I'm never going to be the person to judge So please don't ask me, do I have any opportunity to be successful in voiceover? I'll say, sure you do. And I'll think to myself, you also have an opportunity to fail. But
That is true.
Yeah.
I don't know who you're going to meet, you know? And
Yeah.
a lot of it has to do with that. Getting back to baseball, it's not like I sit there and I can throw a 98-mile-an-hour fastball and put it exactly where I want it to go, and then follow that up with a changeup at 72 miles an hour. Anybody who can do that will be drafted and have the opportunity to prove themselves. Art, acting, is a little bit more subjective than that. It's like gymnastics versus swimming.
Yeah.
Swimming, it's just get there first. Not that there's anything wrong with that, you know?
Yeah.
100-yard dash, get there first. Run a marathon, get there first. But the little sticky thing with the little hoops and the whatevers and the rhythmic gymnastics, that's subjective. That's somebody going, ooh, you did a perfect 360 whatever move. And so that's art. That's art. And all you can help somebody do is to try to achieve what their best, to access the skills they have within themselves to make the most out of each moment. Yeah, people can wait in line, say hello. I'm of the opinion that somebody who paid to get into a convention helped pay for my flight to get to the convention. So at the very least, please come and say hello. And, you know, I used to love the old days when conventions would give out programs and people could walk around with those and get those signed.
Yeah.
You know? So like now I try to bring bookmarks to the show. So if anybody comes up and says hello, they don't leave empty-handed. They have a little something. So
That's so great.
Oh, I
I
like
love
that.
that.
well, there are a lot of people that do stuff like that. Tom Gibbous, Michael Yurchak, two of my castmates from Naruto. They do something similar. So there are quite a few of us that try to do something like that and say thank you.
That's so sweet, though. Like,
It really is.
we really appreciate when, you know, there's that back and forth. You can't have a one-sided conversation, you know?
Yep, and even the people who look uncomfortable, I've done this enough times where, you know, I've just had, you know, like my ear popped on the plane on the way over and it doesn't unpop the entire weekend. So the whole weekend I'm a little bit off, you know, and I feel bad. We were talking actually recently at Planet Anime in Kansas City about somebody who got some food poisoning on Friday night and they couldn't really be at their table on Saturday. And when that happens, we feel horrible about that. You know, I mean, I was scheduled to do a convention, not to bring things down, but I was scheduled to do a convention last December. And just before I was going to go to sleep to wake up early the next morning and fly out, I got the bad news that my brother passed away. And
dear.
I had a hard time deciding, should I go to this convention? You know, in retrospect, I kind of wish I had, because I would have been at least a little distracted instead of waiting to bury my brother. Yay. But any which way, I did feel guilty, you know, about not being there, because how many people were there to see me, even if it's one person who saved their money and got a plane ticket or got a hotel or did both, rented a car, drove a couple 100 miles, whatever it is. And they were coming to see me, whether it was just me or me and some other people. I feel obligated and I feel guilty and that's like the only time that I've ever canceled the convention at the last minute. But I am not the only one who feels that way. That certainly was conveyed to me when being told of this person who had food poisoning, because they wanted to get better, not just they didn't want to get better to feel better. They wanted to get better so they could go out on the floor and take care of people.
Yeah.
That's a really good point. A lot of people after convention will talk this, we've seen people pop up that this person didn't seem happy to be there, but it's a good reminder to the attendees that everyone has stuff going on and it does not mean they're not happy to see you.
Yep. Well, they may not be happy to see you. It is possible.
Yeah.
But it's also possible that there's a reason behind that. So please don't, I'm not a big fan of giving people one shot and one shot only.
Mm-hmm.
I know I've tried to make a joke and it doesn't land.
In there.
And I would hate to think that somebody got insulted. I would hate to think that somebody's feelings got hurt. That stuff's important to me. Look, I don't have anywhere near the success that I hoped for as a younger actor, but I still look at my career, whether it's been everything I hoped for or it has fallen short so far. But I do know that I've done some good work, and I appreciate anybody who appreciates that. Yeah. So that's a big part of who I am is living the golden rule and trying to treat people the way I'd want to be treated, and to live life in a place of gratitude. I've been in the darker places where you're mean to people and you look at only the fuzzy end of the lollipop. You only notice the gum on the bottom of your shoe, not the gum in the wrapper in your hand. And that just bleeds into so many parts of a person's life that I find I'm happier being grateful. I'm happier being appreciative. I'm happier doing something to make somebody else happier. It's like, I do this thing. I'll go through a convention and it's getting harder and harder to do it without being recognized, but I'll go up to people who are wearing Akatsuki stuff from Naruto or they're cosplaying as any one of my characters, and I'll just walk up and I'll say, quick, take the picture. And they'll take the picture, and after they do, then I do the voice in their ear and they kind of go, oh my God. Or like this last weekend, I had somebody look at me and kind of go, my friend just told me to wear this. I have no idea what you just did. It's like, cool. Hopefully they'll enjoy the picture, But a lot of times it's people later being in line and, oh my gosh, that was so much fun. I didn't know who you were. Or they'll post something on Instagram, and I just try to treat it like, if I'm at a convention, what would I like? If I'm waiting in line, would I like it if Malcolm McDowell came over to me and said hello? Yeah. Would I like it if Steven Yeun came by and said, so I understand you're a fan of Walking Dead. Even though I know Steven because we did Voltron together, but he's now a huge star. So I keep having my fingers crossed that even though I have his phone number, hopefully he still recognizes me. It's like I never assume anything. I used to joke that I know Johnny Young Bosch. I don't know if Johnny Young Bosch knows me. I finally, after I've heard him say my name a couple of times, and he recognized me, we both got on the shuttle to LAX from the parking spot where we were parking. But it's like, okay, I guess he does recognize me. So I never assume anything like that.
That's fair. What are some of your thoughts when the fans come up in those cosplays, like come up to the booth as Madara or as Captain Yamamoto?
Well, I don't get too many old man Yamas coming up,
Dang it.
to be honest with you. I get the occasional, mostly they wear the Akatsuki robe and the Toby mask, and they get really excited that I'm there with Michael Yurchak, who provided the voice of Silly Toby, and I have to kind of go, I was serious, Toby. I have such a horrible ego. I have such a horribly fragile ego that it's like, I did that character too. So
That's fair.
but I've been known years ago. I was known for like chasing people down if they would be cosplaying my character and they'd walk by my table and not say hello. I would chase them down and say, I'm right over there and you can say hello, right?
Oh my god.
Oh man.
Terrible. I'm terrible.
No, I think it's
But
weird that
now
someone
I usually have a little bit of.
like someone in your cosplay wouldn't come say hi to you. That's weird.
That is a little weird.
I know. That's what I'm saying. And I keep telling them, I'm not asking you for money. I'm not trying to pick your pocket. I'm just saying you wore me. Come say hello. People like me to sign their pops sometimes with just Hashirama. So I write like Hashirama.
Yes.
I actually filled the front panel of a Funko Pop one time with
That's great.
all the way down with exclamation points at the end.
I love that.
That's awesome.
That's what the kids want. That's what I got to do. So
That's fair. Well, let's see. What is coming up? Like anything you want to plug quick?
they make us voice actors sign NDAs the second we book something. We're not allowed to talk about anything. Sometimes they don't even bother to tell us the real name of the project that we've worked on.
Oh, geez.
Oh jeez.
I worked on Red Dead Redemption 2 and had to have somebody write me a note on Twitter, saying, "Hey, nice to see you in this." And they took a screen capture of, the credits, and my name was on there. It's like, oh, I guess I did work on that.
I was told you were in Conan Exiles as well. That's about all I
I've done
know.
a couple of Conan games. One was way back in 2007, and I played a character called Bone Cleaver. And the only reason I remembered it was because you're not going to remember either one of these shows, but there was a show called Happy Days. And in the first season of Happy Days, there was an older brother named Chuck who just dribbled a basketball. You never saw his face. And then he moved out by the end of the season. So he was like this mythical character. So I kind of, with Bone Cleaver, there was a show called Leave It to Beaver, and they were the Cleaver family, Beaver Cleaver.
Ooh.
Anyway, I had this vision that Wally and Theodore had an older brother who left after the first season that we've never seen of Leave It to Beaver to join a biker gang in the 50s, kind of like with Brando and The Wild One, a movie you've never seen, along with the 2 TV shows you've never seen. Anyway, so that was his name as far as I was concerned, was Bone Cleaver. So
Okay.
that one stuck with me because I was doing a convention called Armageddon down in New Zealand. And somebody was playing it. It was on a TV, and I heard them beating me up. So I walked behind him as he's like looking this way. So I'm walking behind, and I walked up behind him and I went, and he kind of freaked out because the sound was now coming from both sides of him. That's my Bone Cleaver stories right there. So there you go.
That's fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Take care now. Bye for now.